There was a time in my childhood where all I wanted to do was relive my favorite movies over and over. For a while, it meant rewinding to the exact scene in Spider-Man 1 where Peter suits up for the first time, reenacting it shot for shot like some sort of scuffed Just Dance. But that's when I saw it.
Spider-Man the game.
Why stop at watching Spider-Man when I could beg my mom for days and become Spider-Man?
See you, chump.
Movie games were wild. I'm talking Madagascar, Over the Hedge, Shrek 2, Spider-Man 2, Ice Age 2.
B-movie.
I couldn't even set foot in off-brand GameStop without seeing like 12 of these things on the shelf, enticing my little 7-year-old brain with the familiar characters. Why were there so damn many? And how come now, today, they're as dead as my YouTube channel? First, we need to know how movie games rose to popularity to figure out how they died. Well, the idea of the movie tie-in has been around since the early 80s. Why?
Money.
Marketing people realized that they could quickly and cheaply make a game and use it to cross-promote a movie and sort of double dip on the profits. And that's fucking gross, dude. You're fucking disgusting. And because of name recognition, the game would have some sort of existing fan base because they saw the movie, they thought it was good. Why not pick up the game? The problem is they didn't know the insidious dog shit that was hidden inside those cartridges. The biggest example being E.T. in 1983. This game was so fucking bad that it literally had over 700,000 recalls and was honestly cited as the reason of the game crash of 1983. It wasn't until the late 90s when movie games became more than an afterthought that you'd see on the shelf and go, that's a piece of shit. Games were in 3D now. The sights, the sounds, the environments, they were realistic enough to let your imagination actually feel like you were part of the movie. And it wasn't just trying to tie some pixels to Marty McFly. I mean, I don't remember this guy running down the street and throwing bowling balls at bees and people, but I guess that's what Back to the Future the game is. The biggest game to not only redefine but set the standard for the FPS genre with its stick-based movement and show studios how powerful name recognition could be was the N64's GoldenEye. This game was released 2 years after the movie and could have really just been its own standalone shooter. But following the story loosely, using the movie's characters, and most importantly, using the GoldenEye name, it got people to buy it. But the key difference in GoldenEye compared to the movie tie-in successors of the 2000s was the game was actually good. But I think the reasons for its success were misinterpreted completely. Kyle, yeah, it's Cuckazoid. Go ahead and get on the horn with licensing. Tell them that we need the rights to The Room, the 2003 sleeper hit. Also, call up King Cuckus Entertainment. Tell them they have 4 months, 32 days, 10 hours, and about 7 seconds to make the game. Also give them about $6 grand to work with. That should be enough to pay their salaries. The early 2000s marked an era where every fucking person had a console. DVD playback was a huge deal, and it was cheaper to get a PS2 than it was to buy a standalone DVD player. And if you were living really good, you had a GBA or a DS, something that you could hide under the blanket when mom walked in, and then not sleep at all, and wake up the next day and feel like shit. With more console users than ever and the success of movie tie-in games in the 5th generation, publishers were locked and loaded, ready to shoot these things out and market to us 20 and 30-somethings in our elementary days and just implant the idea in our heads that we need to go up to mom. We need to ask her, can I please get Shark Tale the game? And because movie tie-ins were mostly based on animated kids movies, they could just take the assets from the movie, convert them to whatever they need to do, and plop them in the game and just focus on the gameplay and the mechanics to at least create something acceptable to my little 7-year-old self. Movie tie-ins fall on this spectrum from, wow, this is a really good banger. This is revolutionary. This is more than a movie game. So, what the fuck is this? Most of the movie tie-in games I played growing up fell right in the middle. The most common of them being the action-adventure platformer. Take your favorite movie character, boom, they're in an action-adventure platformer now. They smash the circle button to hit bad guys and pick things up, and they wear out the X button like your stinky, smelly, peeled-off gaming chair that you've had for 7 years to double jump every waking second. Games like Flushed Away, Chicken Little, Ant Bully, Madagascar, Open Season, I could go on forever. These games weren't bad by any means, but they weren't doing anything crazy either. They were definitely formulaic and cookie cutter, and they were just trying to get something out to match the movie's release date. And honestly, some of these levels were so hard that I would get stuck on them for months at a time, only to come back when I'm a little older and a little smarter to finally figure out what it was. Then you had the stinkers, the ones that were just complete dog shit, often came out years after the movie, just trying to literally capitalize on name value alone. Games like Bad Boys 2, Charlie's Angels, which literally has no narrative ties to the film, Home Alone, RoboCop, which was made by the people who made Superman 64, so you were definitely falling into that one. Ever notice how universally the worst tie-in games seem to be for live action movies? It's like they spent their whole budget and time just trying to like get the 3D models of the characters into the game, and then by the time that happens, their budget's blown, their time's blown, so they just fucking repeat the same 12 levels over and over again, and then call it a done deal and sell it to some guy who doesn't know shit, but says, hey, Tyler Durden.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
But take a journey with me here, wading through the stinkers, wading through the action-adventure cookie-cutter platformers, and you have the bangers. Games that transcended the idea that a movie tie-in game was just for little kids. Games that innovated their genres and were fun for everyone. Spider-Man 2 set the standard for superhero games, and it was the basis for all swing physics for all Spider-Man games going forward. You were Spider-Man. You didn't just relive the movie's events. You got to save people. You got to help annoying kids find their fucking balloons. Scarface: The World Is Yours took the movie game into a completely new direction. Instead of focusing on the events in the movie, it's like a what-if scenario. If Tony actually survives the ending of the movie and he has to rebuild his empire. It was something completely different. It was standalone, but it was still a movie tie-in, and that was just something completely unheard of at that point. The Warriors. When I was a kid, this was just a movie that my dad would constantly replay in the living room just to hear, "They shot Cyrus!" But it was one of the most interesting beat-em-ups I've ever played, and honestly one of Rockstar's hidden gems. If you haven't played this, you should play it, because it follows the story of the movie in the beginning, but then it sets you loose on the wider world of the movie that just wasn't touched on at all. The Matrix, Path of Neo. First off, can we just say how great these graphics are? Like, the reflections! This game recounts the entire trilogy, and it was actually written and directed by the people who made the movie, so you know it's not gonna be some dog shit because it was some random writer they found at fucking Comic-Con. Combine that with fulfilling the dreams of millions of being Neo and like stopping your bullets and doing your cool moves. This was a really good game. I think the common theme here with all these bangers is that the gameplay was actually good, and the story, it seemed to always add on or build from what was in the movie. However, as time goes on, things change. For every banger released, there was like 12 stinkers, and they started to get this reputation that movie tie-in games were. Combine that with the extra time and development cost it was taking to make a game heading into the next generation, and the just honestly increasing standards of quality that we want in games, it was looking worse and worse for publishers to even waste their time making a movie tie-in game. Every kid from the age of 4 up has that tablet with the yellow hard case and their fucking drool splattered and dried all over it. And what better way to make money than a game that's easy to make and has the addictive gameplay loop and the infinite money glitch of mom's credit card to appeal to kids. It's honestly a no-brainer that the final fate of movie tie-in games was them just being relegated to the App Store. But if you grew up in the 2000s, you grew up with the golden age of movie games. You know, I was really happy that my PS2 and my friend's DS on the bus allowed me to experience movies in a way that, you know, people probably won't experience again. And even though they weren't always good, they weren't always the polished things, for us kids, they were fun. And I'm always gonna have fond memories on those times. But time moves on, we get older, and it's time for something new to make us feel like a kid again. AI. Check out my video on how AI will completely change video games in the future and do things in games that we always dreamed of as kids. I'm Rob from GameYak. Peace.